Okay, hopefully everyone can hear us. And we do have a quorum. Of course, I'm all here by myself from the Planning Commission members, but online, Peter Ryan, Nelson DeLeon, James Harris, and Wilson Pesey are on Zoom with us. So we do have a quorum. I am Wayne Dealer. I am the chairman. Welcome to the regular Planning Commission meeting for Tuesday, November 28th, 2023. I did say who's in attendance. Next on the agenda is to accept the Planning Commission meeting agenda. Are there any changes? Yeah, I didn't see any either. So do I hear a motion to accept this evening's agenda?
Yes.
Okay, thank you, Peter. Second?
I'll second.
Okay, thank you, James. Okay, question on the motion? All those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Okay, we have an agenda, and Dan DeCoyo has just walked in, so everybody's here. Okay, first on the agenda, we have the Novus preliminary final annexation land development plan, 40 Noble Street. I will turn it over to Jerome to introduce the project for us.
Okay, this is the Novus annexation and land development plan. This is a preliminary / final plan application. It is submitted by Novus ACS, who is the owner and applicant of the project. It involves 2 tracts of land. Parcel A is located at 40 Noble Street, and parcel B, which contains an existing building, and parcel B is a improved lot with parking facilities, no buildings, located at 609 Brookline Street. The preliminary planned application does contain 3 plan sheets that is considered complete. The project will be developed in order to accommodate a proposed use, which is a medical office. We had instructed that the applicant identify the plan as an annexation and land development plan. The site is located within the heavy manufacturing zoning district. This use is permitted as a use by right within the zoning district. And as mentioned, the development will involve two parcels to be annexed, and which will need a draft deed description for that annexation. With regards to site accessibility, parking, and loading, there is going to be an existing point of ingress that will be utilized along Noble Street, and an existing egress point that's located along Brookline. The applicant proposes 12 off-street parking spaces. We had recommended that 2 of those spaces should be designated for handicapped persons. There should be at least 1 area dedicated for loading and unloading, and that can be placed anywhere on the plan. There is available room on the site. And there should be at least a 6-foot buffer between the street line and the parking area. Now, since this is an existing condition that where the parking is, it may fall under the provisions for nonconformity, but we should attempt to see if we can integrate that buffer strip if possible. The existing curb, sidewalks, and handicap ramps, and also the driveway ramps, are in poor condition. It appears that based upon our site visit, that they were in the process of doing those repairs or replacements this past week. A landscaping plan has been submitted with this application. We had asked that the certified arborist for the city of Reading should review that proposal. And the same lighting plan has been submitted in which we provided the basic instructions for lighting and that a note be placed on the plan regarding the illumination levels being reduced between certain hours of the day. Other comments we have added, we have asked the fire and rescue department to review the plan to see if they have anything that they needed to add. The proposed development will be served by sanitary sewer flows. We had asked that the applicant provide a response to verify that the sanitary sewage flows of this area or for this use is not going to exceed the previous use. And that will be up to the Public Works Department to determine if a planning module is required. Other than that, we have asked that some notes be added to the plan. The plan is pretty well straightforward in terms of stormwater management and erosion and sedimentation control, since the area is already improved and paved. And it's our understanding that the Berks County Planning Commission has reviewed this plan and has provided comments. I think that there are representatives from the applicant who are here or on Zoom. If they have any comments. Okay, is there anyone here for this plan? Review Michael. Michael is attempting to speak.
Yeah, and Alan Smith. And I think Brad, they see him, but
Brad's also muted. And Michael's muted. You're gonna have to unmute yourselves.
Is that better? I'm Brad with OTM Surveying.
There you go.
And I'm Mike. I'm on.
yes.
Yep. Yeah, sorry about that. Struggling with this whole Zoom thing. Can everyone hear me?
Yes.
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay. Yep, we've gone through the review, gentlemen. Basically, we have no major concerns with the review. We note that all of the building permits have already been issued by the city. The city already is in receipt of the architecturals and have reviewed them and approved them, so the work continues. And as Jerome noted, that the sidewalk repairs along Noble Street are being undertaken. The only item I think we need to ask is with regards to a buffer. I think that we can provide some sort of arborvitae buffer along Noble Street, but Brookline, we're going to ask for. We'd like to ask for relief along Brookline because the macadam actually comes up to the existing sidewalk. It's like we may have 3 feet between the curb line and the existing macadam parking lot that's been there historically.
That's acceptable because it is an existing condition, the way it's constructed, and we're basically trying to do as much as possible. The buffer strip does not necessarily have to be a strip that's going to be blocking the view. It just means it's going to be a green area that's landscaped and being able to be maintained. So I mean,
yes, and we already have that along Noble Street. There's like 13 feet or greater along Noble Street between curb and the parking area.
as you can see from the pictures, they are existing conditions.
Yeah. But I see on the plan that they do want to install 2 new trees.
Yeah.
And work with that. So. And Brookline's just a one-way street?
Yes.
Correct.
Okay. Does anyone, Tim, do you have anything to add?
Yes, I do. I'm glad to hear that the curb and the sidewalk repairs are underway. I know that you've been working with our engineering department, with Chris Lovell, and that's good to hear. It looks like a good land development. The only questions I have here is, it doesn't appear that the plan calls for any new impervious area, no expansions of the building or expansions or changes to the footprint of what's already there. Is that correct?
That is
Yes,
correct.
that is correct. There's
Okay.
only going to be a minor modification to the front entrance along
Mhm.
Noble Street.
Oh, yes,
And then,
right,
and then obviously the handicap lift
right.
area. But other than
Yeah.
that, the building essentially remains the same.
Yeah, and most of it, if not all of it, would be in the right of way. So, yeah, I was just asking that for stormwater application. I see no reason to, or why the stormwater ordinance would apply in this case, since there's no proposed impervious area. The only other question I have then would be with the sewer planning. Have you submitted anything on what you propose would be the projected water consumption sewer flows for this use?
No, sir. No, sir, not at this time. We wouldn't anticipate, based upon the numbers that have been provided by our client, that we will be exceeding the current 1 EDU that's already assigned to the property. So I'm anticipating that there won't be an issue, but we have not submitted yet, and we will be.
Okay, and that makes sense. As I understand, this is a clinic, and there's no residents involved with this at all. This is just a purely commercial medical clinic. Is that my understanding?
Medical clinic only.
Okay. Okay, yeah, then if you could provide that in a letter form or put a note on the plan and indicate there that you anticipate less than 1 EDU. In the city here, 1 EDU or equivalent dwelling unit is 262.5 gallons per day.
Thank you for that information.
Yes. So Brad, yeah, if you can show me that, then what you stated there would be correct. You wouldn't need any additional sewer planning with the 1 EDU that's already approved.
Yes, we can document that. Thank you, sir.
Very good. Yeah, and then document it in a way that it will be recorded with the plan, either as a letter or put a note, a concise note on the plan, something that will show up for the future. If somebody else in the future has that same question, they'll know that it's been explained here on the plan or in a letter that has been recorded.
That's not a problem. Can do, sir. Thank you.
Okay. All right. With that, that's
How much
all.
of the,
Go ahead.
how much of the sidewalks are going to be replaced?
sorry,
The entire length of the parking lot and the front of the on Noble Street side. So from Brookline, well, I guess from Brookline all the way to wherever the building is.
Would be Craig.
Noble Street.
All the way from Brookline
That's
to
correct.
Greg.
So just on Noble.
I believe, you know what, I have to look at, but I believe Greg Street as well. That whole side. Let me look at the pictures of the building. They sent them to me yesterday. Let's see.
I know you've been working with our engineering office, and you've got the front entrance, which is on Noble Street, and that sidewalk. So yeah, we've confirmed that, and I don't remember if Chris mentioned anything about the other two streets. Noble's, yeah.
Noble's definite.
That's your frontage, yeah, and then Greg would be the other major street at the corner.
Yeah, I'm trying to find my email here so I can see what, Joe, look, get me my email here. Um, where Sevi sent me pictures. No, Sevi, I need, no. Phone, Sevi, Steve. It's sidewalk. Behind. You know, I believe it's the whole side of Gregg Avenue as well.
Yeah, if you could confirm that and then give that information to Brad, and then that way it could be shown on the plan. Like I said, in lieu of any buffer strip along Brookline, I would rather see the sidewalks improved.
Okay,
That would make the most sense, because it's an existing condition, like I mentioned.
yeah, I agree. It's a
And then everything,
mess.
yeah, everything else should then be fine. Yeah. And then you're of course going to have the parking spaces. Are they going to have the curb stops or?
Yes, yes, along Noble Street, there will be curb stops, yes.
All right, then that seems to work. I think that with those conditions, I think we could consider approval.
Okay.
All right. Are there any questions or comments from the commissioners?
I think it might be good to mention too, I believe Chris told me that fence that was there has been removed. Is that correct,
It
Michael?
is good. If it's not
Or
removed,
Alan?
it's going to be removed.
Yes. Okay. Very good. Very
That
good.
fence is an
Doesn't it?
eyesore.
Yeah,
Yes.
that was
It does
my
not-
question. You answered
Okay.
my question.
Sorry,
It does
Peter.
not have. It does not have the slats in it.
It's all gone. It's going to be gone. If it's not by now, it should be very shortly.
The drawing shows existing chain link fence on the Brookline.
Correct. We haven't worked out those final details of how much of the fence will be removed, but we're working on that.
Actually, Brad, all of Brookline can go.
Okay,
Well, I think that'd be nice.
that's not a problem.
Yeah. And then the fence along Noble Street, that was removed too?
That's going to be gone as well.
Okay.
That's actually 4 or 5 foot forward than it should have been when it was put in. That's the reason I'm taking it out.
Yeah.
That and it's ugly.
Yes. Good reasons.
So there will be no municipal improvements agreement nor stormwater management agreement.
Okay, great. Okay, anything else from the commissioners? All right, do I hear, let's hear, I think how this goes. Do I hear a motion to, grant preliminary final plan application approval for Novus annexation and land development plan, provided that the applicant takes care of all the items noted on the letter issued by Hawk Valley Associates for November 20th, 2023.
I'll So make move.
Thank you, Nelson.
Peter?
Second,
Peter?
Danny? Okay, question on the motion? All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Opposed? The ayes have it. We have the, have this, going forward.
Thank you very much, gentlemen, and ladies and
Thank
gentlemen,
you.
I'm sorry. Thank you so
Thank
much,
you.
and we will
Thank
be
you.
resubmitting plans.
Okay,
Very
thank
good.
you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
You bet. Thank you.
Okay.
Mm,
Next on the agenda, we have 108 South Fifth Street preliminary final plan development plan for 108 South Fifth Street. I'll hand it over to Jerome for the introduction.
Okay, this project is located at 108 South Fifth Street. We identified it as a land development plan. It's actually a change of use. The change of use has occurred over time. And the reason we found the change of use was because of information that wasn't available within the planning office or zoning office in terms of permits. The existing building is it's a 3-story building, 5,941 square feet. The current layout is for 19 suites. The problem was that there are only 2 uses documented within the planning office as well as building and trades. So having said that, the information that they had supplied, the proposed uses are permitted within the CC zoning district. There are no problems with that. The internal space and suite sizes are actually appear to be workable for a commercial building. And we have no objections to that. As mentioned, that the project does involve a change of use. And really, we need to have these existing uses and the layout of the building documented, since there is no documentation on it. The site is located in the Callow Hill Historic District. And if there is going to be any exterior renovations or interior renovations, they should be reviewed by the Historic Preservation Office. Moving forward, with regards to site accessibility, they do have provisions now for 28 parking spaces. We had recommended that at least two of those parking spaces should be ADA compatible or identified as handicapped parking spaces. They should have the availability for 1 off-street loading space, either in front of the development or within the off-street parking area. The existing curbs, sidewalks, and driveway aprons are in fair condition. And moving on down, we had asked that the applicant had supplied us with sanitary sewer flow data in a narrative that was submitted separately. And we had asked Public Works to review that information to see if they've determined that it's acceptable and that a planning module will not be required for the site. The number of persons over time, it appears, is only increasing by 5 or 6 people. So it's in their office personnel. We'd asked for other notes to be placed on the plan. The plan would need to be reviewed by the Berks County Planning Commission, and we feel that some form of a plan should be recorded with this project for this project.
Very good. Is there anyone here representing this plan?
Yes, I am Joan London, and I am here on Zoom with Vladimir Mercedes, managing member of Mercedes South Fifth LLC, Kevin Yarnell, who is the property manager, and Mark Christman, who prepared the base plans for the project, which you which you have, and had the opportunity to review. The Mercedes South Fifth LLC has not made any interior changes other than cosmetic to the property since the property was purchased on February 22nd, 2022. The partitioning and the suites are the same as they were upon purchase. The tenants, the tenancy has increased, the occupancy has increased somewhat. However, the partitioning is the same. The types of businesses, as you pointed out, Jerome, are similar. They are all the types of commercial and retail and office uses that are permitted by right in the CC district. There's nothing that's going to be a considerably larger user of water and sewer, as they are again office and office type businesses. You're not seeing, for example, barbershops, salons, or other personal service businesses or restaurant uses other than a takeout deli that occupy the space. We believe that the space has not changed. We don't believe that it has even changed since during the time of Mr. Schumann's ownership from 2019 to 2022. I have Mr. Chrisman here, who is familiar with Schumann Development Group's ownership and prepared the base plans. Mark, if you could unmute yourself.
I am unmuted.
Okay, now. Yes.
Good evening.
Do you agree with what I've said as far as the partitioning of the space and it being similar to the space as it was during Schumann Development Group's ownership?
Absolutely, and you can look at the date on the drawings that I gave you and see the date, and they could walk into the building right now and see that it's not really any different.
Right. The changes are, any changes have been cosmetic type improvements, not anything for which building permits or any other permits would be required.
That is correct to my knowledge.
Yeah, I mean, what Mercedes South Fifth Street LLC is looking to do is basically get the business permits for the uses that are already in place. I mean, you see the plans, again, they have not changed. We simply want to keep what is in place and make few other changes. Again, nothing more than cosmetic type changes.
Correct.
Mr. Yarnell, are you in agreement with that?
You're muted, Kevin.
Yeah, you're muted.
Over. I am Joan. I put together a list of the 8 different entities that reside within the building as it is. 2 of which have applied. One being ourselves applied for the business privilege license, which I think started this whole process off at the city. Their acknowledgement that there was only one official registered tenant to the building, but the fact of the matter was it was operating like this for quite some time. So all we're trying to do is get it, basically on the books correct. But as you've indicated and Mark has said, we haven't done any physical changes to the building other than some carpeting, painting, and things of that nature, redecorating basically. But we just want to register all of the operating businesses here at the building.
Yeah. Mr. Yarnell prepared a narrative, which the Planning Commission has. It was submitted. That was a history of prior tenancy and purchases.
Yeah, That was done some time ago. As you've indicated, there was some different tenants in the building. When we purchased it, a couple have left, and we've been lucky enough to get some more tenants within the building to the point where we're, I think all but one of the spaces is consumed.
We've provided, in addition to the narrative, we've also provided the rent roll showing, who is in the building. And you can see from that, what type of business operation they are, all in conformity with the zoning requirements for that area. And also not exceeding occupancy limits, for the building. Again, we're asking for approval of this as a preliminary / final plan application, as reflective of conditions that have pre-existed this owner's ownership and the prior owner's ownership as well.
And the pharmacy is still on the first floor?
Yes, it is the longest tenant that we've had. It was prior to us, and it was right around the time when Alan Schuman took over the operations of this particular building in his portfolio.
And I assume all the facade work is done. Probably Alan did all that. Is that correct?
Alan received grants to our knowledge when we met with him for due diligence reasons. That was all done, yes, prior to our ownership.
Okay. Do you have anything, Tim?
Well, yes, we had some correspondences earlier, some email correspondences. I'm still trying to get an idea of what the proposed consumption will be, because right now we're looking at this property. I have to go back to when when the city did its last. This is for planning modules for sewer. When we did the last Act 537 update, which was the 2011-2012 time period, and water records indicate that there wasn't a lot of use there. It was well under 1 EDU. And 1 EDU is 262.5 gallons per day. So in order for us to determine whether or not planning modules are needed, I really have to know some idea of what the uses will be and what the consumption will be. I know you don't have it occupied, but I need something, and we need to record something as part of this planning commission review, so we have it for the record.
The information that was submitted through Joan's office, I think she indicated, I did go to Rawa and request several years for comparative nature. The year prior to us using it and subsequent years. Now, since we submitted this back, I think it was in March or April or something like that, obviously times have changed, but our occupancy for the most part went almost to 100% when we took ownership. So if you look at what was submitted, there was a little bit of an increase. I don't know if I calculated the exact percentage, but from 2020, which is March, through the following end of February, there was a total usage in gallons of 167,000. That was 2020 to 2021 prior to our ownership. And from March of 2003 to end of February 2023, there was 180,000 gallons consumed. So really only about a 4,000 gallon difference from the year prior to us. I know you've gone back, Tim, to 2011 when that module was done. I can't speak to that because I didn't request that information when I was trying to prepare the application information. So I can do that, but again, looking at the occupancy data from the year prior to us, they were at 16% vacancy, and we are up close to 90 and have only increased our capacity or utilization, I should say, by about 4,000 gallons. So I can't say that there's a significant increase. Maybe since it's not my business, I don't know if that's significant, but I do understand the EDU concept. I'm familiar with that.
Oh, that's interesting then.
You have
I
a-
guess I must have missed that in the letter. So I didn't understand that you're at 100% or near 100%. That's very interesting because then the water records would be useful for determining, what your current consumption or your current consumption would be your proposed consumption because you're already occupied.
Right.
Exactly.
So
Right.
I didn't catch that, Joan, when that came through. Let me take a look at that. You're saying like 167,000 gallons. That's it. Is that in the course of a year or what was the time period again? It went by
That's
fast.
it's the course of a year. When I requested
Yeah.
the documentation from Wawa, they provided me with 3 reports, and I requested the cyclical nature of the reports from March of 20 to the end of February 2021, subsequently 2021 to 2022, and then 2022 to 2023. So
Okay.
you were not the owners again, and the building was significantly vacant in 2020 through 2021. That was 176,200 gallons of total usage recorded. And then again, 2023 2022 through 2023, we had 180,200 gallons. So, basically 4,000 gallons more.
Mhm.
If I may interject briefly,
Uh,
please.
You know,
Prior to Alan purchasing the building did not have great upkeep. So what running toilets, leaky faucets will add to that consumption. And that could be what's throwing the numbers out of whack and why it looks like with a significant increase in tenants, why there's an insignificant increase in water usage, because now the upkeep is excellent. And even though there's more people there, they're not really using that much water because now all the fixtures and such are in good shape.
Right. And you also have some years for comparison. You maybe have a year for comparison where the upkeep wasn't good, a year for comparison where the occupancy and the usage wasn't as much because of COVID shutdowns. And then you have years beyond that where the occupancy is 100% and the upkeep is good. So you really have all of the conditions represented in the RAWA records that we've provided.
Yeah, I'm doing some. Go ahead. Yeah.
I've got values of about 1.5 to 1.75 EDU.
Yeah, I was just doing the math quick myself, Jerome, and I was coming up around 1.8, something like that. The way the DEP looks at it is, without any prior official planning approval, you have an automatic 1 EDU because the lot has been there prior to 1970 when all the Act 537 and the DEP came up with planning modules and this sort of thing. So you've already got an automatic 1 EDU, and they've instructed us that you will need to do additional sewer planning if the intent of the use of the lot increases the sewer usage by more than 1 EDU, by 1 EDU, but less than 2. In other words, you can increase it above 1 EDU, but not more than 2 EDUs. And 2 EDUs would be the 524 gallons per day. And I did the math at the same time Jerome was doing it. We're getting around, it's under 2. It's more than 1, but it's under 2. And I'll need to double check my math, but it looks like you are going to fall into that category where additional sewer planning would not be required since you're less than 2 EDUs. And again, I hate doing that on the fly, just understanding that here at a meeting. I could confirm that with Joan since we've got an email chain already started with her and let her know that that is in fact accurate. And then like the last applicant that we had on the agenda tonight, we would need some way to if that in fact is the case, we would need some way to memorialize that. I assume this plan is, since it's a preliminary final end about this will be recorded. So we'll also want to have like a little note on the plan stating, how we came up with that and the fact that additional sewer planning wouldn't be required.
And I think we would be fine with a note on the recorded plan.
That'll be good.
That was the main issue.
Okay, and was an actual plan submitted, or do we just have
Yep.
floor?
We got floor plans.
Yeah, and zoning office received floor plans as well.
We would just need something that we can record the plan with.
Okay,
Mhm.
yeah, I didn't know if we needed to show the parking lot and everything.
That'd be the best thing, that's the most desirable approach. We
Something-
worked with another architect, as you may recall, on 100 South 4th Street. To do something similar. So, yeah, anything we can get Joan to make this work and get it recorded and apply the information, that'll work.
So you need a document in recordable form with the plan notes on the sewer
Yeah,
plan.
With the parking lot, description, I guess, is what you're saying.
Hmm. Right.
Yeah, I mean, you you don't have to go out and do a survey, we just need to have all the information shown. And like I said, we have allowed an architect to do that plan. So if you want to use your architect, you can.
Okay,
Okay.
that's fine.
Yeah, did you supply Joan, when I put in the leases, that documentation for the parking lot? I mean, it's like a PDF file. But it does depict the current.
I believe so, and we could use that along with the interior layout drawings.
Okay. We'll Mark, I guess, you'll need to pop over here and take a look at the parking
Yeah,
lot.
that's not an issue. That's not an issue at all. There is you might have been thinking, Kevin, in the Hawk Valley Associates report, there are Google Map
Oh, yeah.
satellite photos.
He has the.
Yeah.
Right, and that shows the aerial of the parking area, providing the needed spaces.
Correct.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's not a problem. We can do that.
That's what I was looking at, because I'm
Great.
putting the drawings in there.
I want to see. Like this good.
Yeah, then we'll have something then we will have something to send to Berks County Planning Commission.
Okay. Yep, no problem.
Okay,
So everyone's good if all these things can be compliant.
yeah, great. See here, any comments or from the commissioners?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, this is Will.
Go ahead, Will.
First of all, thank you. First of all, this building, I recall, was renovated, at least the exterior, in the early 1980s, I believe. And then there were internal renovations made, I presume, when Alan Schuman had it.
Oh.
And of course, it's next to our public library. As was mentioned, it's in the Callow Hill Historic District. I believe it's a federal style, beautiful example. So I really appreciate the owners, the applicants, what they're doing. So really, I just wanted to comment, Mr. Chairman, you asked the question I had and assuaged my concern, because the review letter said a complete plan were needed, which I figured there was only floor plans, and because the plan was referred to, and it sounds like that my inference was correct. So we had something submitted to us, floor plans only, is that right? But no formal land development plan, is that correct?
That's correct, because this was again a pre-existing building.
Right.
That has not been changed in
Yes.
any way other than cosmetic improvements.
No, I understand. I just wanted to make sure that we didn't miss something, because usually if there's a plan, it's attached, our planning consultant attaches it to the review letter, which is really what we focus on, at least I do. I know some of the commissioners do, and I know sometimes supporting documents are sent to a website, but I don't know what that website is or how to access it. I've had trouble, technical glitches, so I always ask the plans to be sent to me. I'd ask the planner, but we've had turnover. we don't have a planner at present, so I want to make sure we didn't miss anything. We didn't need to see the floor plans necessarily, but if they're there, I mean, it's always good sometimes for reference to have those available, but we certainly would need a plan to vote on an actual document. So I understand all those details were discussed, and we'll look forward to seeing an actual document we could consider. And I wouldn't see any reason to object once we get that. And of course, as was mentioned, the Berks County Planning Commission would need to see one before and give us comments back, just so you know the process. I know you know it, Joan, but just the applicants know we need their comments before we can even put it to a vote. So thank you for your submission, what you said so far, what you explained. We look forward to seeing the documents so we can consider approving this plan. Thank you.
Okay, anything from anyone else?
I just have a question,
go
this is
ahead,
really
Eric.
just for my own education. So this was, I'm guessing, a long time ago, maybe 3 distinct properties that some consolidation was done somewhere along the way. And what happens to the water hookup in that case? Does it go from 3 to 1 or 2 to 1, whatever it was originally?
Just, with my knowledge of buildings and being a realtor for about 40 years or so, I got into a lot of places. Yeah, there's 2 basements, so I can't speak to 3, but it's possible years and years ago, maybe, 80 to 100 years ago, it was 3 buildings. But there's significantly 2 now, because there's 2 separate basements. The one basement does have a divide between it. What has happened as far as the water is concerned is we have an 1.5 inch water line coming into, let's call it the main basement. And on the other side, there is nothing. Most of the sewerage is also coming and going through the main basement. So there are some signs of an old water line coming in the older basement, but that's cut off and, it's just randomly sticking out in the basement wall. So that's not functioning anymore. So everything was basically consolidated. How many years ago? I don't know. It's copper, 1.5 inch water meter. So that's relatively new.
Yeah. Okay. I'm just curious whether there's no requirement that it get consolidated when properties get combined, is there? Or I don't know what the practice is.
I think building and trades would make that requirement.
Would they? Okay. I'm just curious. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, if I may follow up on those good questions
go ahead,
from Commissioner Rye. I don't think this was a building with industrial use. I remember it as an insurance company, but I don't know what. And as he pointed out, it would probably was consolidated different buildings in the past. So I don't know what the uses were. But given the age and location, I'd be remiss if I didn't ask, are there any vaults under this building?
No, when we purchased the building, we did a phase 1 and a phase 2. The phase 1 basically went back to the old tax map records, as I'm sure some of you guys are familiar with. And there was an indication at the time there was an operating bakery here. And the bakery had delivery trucks, and they indicated that there was an underground storage tank in our parking lot, which then we had to do a phase 2 on, and we drilled a bunch of holes, which were then analyzed to find out that, back in the day, somebody took it out and it was never recorded, which is somewhat typical and historically. So, we did find out that there was a bakery, and that was, I think, in the 1930s, I believe, and it showed up on the maps up until the 1960s. We validated the fact that there is no underground storage tanks, and in the basement, it's the remnants of stone foundations, some poured flooring, but no vaults.
Well, thank you for doing your due diligence, and I appreciate that. We just wanted to rule that out. Thank you.
All right, good question, thanks.
With that, we will need to table this plan, since it needs to go to the Berks County Planning Commission. But I'm sure that will be quickly, fixed, and, we can look at this again, put this up for a vote next month. So with that, do I hear a motion to table?
I move
Yeah.
to table. I move to table the land development plan, preliminary final plan plan for 108 South Fifth Street.
Very good. Thank you, Will. And then I'll take Danny as the second. Okay. Question on the motion?
We don't have
All those
no
favor-
discussion on table. Yep.
Oh, that's right, yeah. Okay, very good. Well, we hope to see the paperwork next month. I'm not sure really anybody who needs to represent if they come in next month.
No, I think this is gonna be a straight approval once the county reviews it. Just to make sure that everyone's on the same page, our planning commission meeting next month is moved up a week. It's on December 19th.
And what is your deadline?
There will be no deadline for us, but I think you need, John, I think you need to get your plan into the county planning commission as soon as possible.
Okay.
So,
Okay, we don't need to discuss a motion to table, but we do have to vote. Sorry.
Yeah.
Yep.
oh, sorry. Oh, yeah.
It can get confusing,
Robert,
Yeah.
especially over the phone.
All those in favor of tabling, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, very good. There we go.
So, Joan,
Alright.
just get the plan into the county for a review at your earliest convenience. Yeah, to get to Emily, and then we do not have to re-review it. It's we'll just do a glance over and make sure everything's in order, and the comments in our November 21st letter should be your guidelines.
All right, that's fine.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And as I said, with since it's a very straightforward submission, you know, it's up to you if you would like to attend or not. Because I think we discussed everything that we need.
All right, very good. We'll work on that this month then.
Okay, very good. Thank you, Joe.
Okay, thank you. Have a nice rest of your evening.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, and we will now move on to the Hamden Park Reservoir Field preliminary final land development plan. I'll turn it over to Jerome for the introduction.
Yes, this is the Reservoir Field land development plan. This is at Hamden Park, in which we have the applicant being the Reading School District. The owner is the city of Reading, and the occupant of the user of the facility is the Reading High School. There are a number of people in attendance tonight from the Reading School District, so I'll let them describe the project for you.
Good evening, my name is Mike Garrison, Chief Financial Officer for the Reading School District. Today I have Mike Zollo with Watkins Apex, Phil Leinbach with AEM, and Jamie Lynch with DeHuey Engineering, our construction manager. So the goal of this project is to essentially, it's a maintenance project and hill stabilization on the east side of the property. Over the last several years, there has been a significant amount of water runoff penetration from the hillside that has caused damage to the turf field that is already in existence. So the turf field needs to be replaced, but in order to be able to replace that, we need to ensure that there will not be any future damage to that field. So we need to stabilize the hillside, east side of that property. So, Mike will go through the land development components of it. Bill has done the architecture work on it. But I guess one thing to kind of point out, Jerome, you had indicated that that the city owns the property. We do have documentation that in 1967, the property was conveyed to the Reading School District by an agreement, 2 deeds. In 1989, there was a further agreement, second agreement between the city and the school district, to which half interest would be shared between the two. So we are joint owners of the property and not just of use. And then in 2006, there was 2005, there was a second amendment that really just outlined responsibilities of both the city and the district in managing that property. So
if we could reference them on the plan,
we can, yeah.
and then your certification of ownership would then have to reflect that some way.
Okay. So, and then we get copies of the agreements as well, so we'll get those out there. But so as a joint owner, we certainly have, we began conversations with the city on the project and the needs for it. Mr. Lynch and I had met with Bill Heim 2 weeks ago to discuss what the project would be, amongst other things. So those conversations are ongoing, and as part of this, we provided him more information. So with that, I'll turn it over to Mike to go through the project and address questions that I don't know how you want to handle the questions that you identified in your letter.
Yeah, I could just briefly go through our review letter, and then I'll summarize it, then you can go through it in whatever detail. First of all, the property is located in the preservation zoning district. The use is permitted by right within the preservation zoning district, so we have no conflicts there. The area in question is basically within the steep slope overlay district, but these areas have been previously disturbed in the past, so they're basically non-conforming, and we'll just call them pre-existing conditions. There are some modifications to the vehicular and pedestrian circulation movements, and I'll let them explain that a little bit later on what those exactly are. Moving down to stormwater management, we did have some minor issues that we brought up, mostly involving the calculations would be required for certain things, and there was one area of concern that we brought up that maybe with the Public Works Department we could look at with regarding the retaining wall, because that might be the most critical issue, I think, with this part of the project. But I'll let Tim discuss that with Michael Hartman from my office, and we could work that together with the applicant. There will be an erosion and sedimentation control plan that will be necessary. They are under an acre, so that there is no MPDS plan required or permit required. There's going to be no increase in sanitary sewer flows because it's going to be the existing conditions. And there will be a municipal improvements agreement for the project, and also a stormwater management maintenance agreement, which should be rather abbreviated, but it's a rather simple, straightforward project. Since the applicant is here with several representatives, I'll let them go through the project itself, and if there's any questions on the review letter.
No problem. Good evening. My name is Mike Sodal. I'm with Wilkinson Apex Engineers. We prepared land development plans. We have your letter, Jerome, from November 24th. I guess that was the revised one, correct?
Yes.
Yeah. So we have that, and I'll just go down through the list as quickly as possible and just hit on the items that we just wanted to touch base on. Yeah. So the project itself, besides the replacement of the turf, there's the eastern embankment is failing and needs to be restabilized. So we're putting in some retaining walls, some other things to try and stabilize that embankment. And while we're doing that, we're trying to create a little bit better spectator viewing experience out there, because there's the only seating that's down at field level is adjacent to the field house, and where those portable bleachers sit, you can't see the entire field your view gets cut off because of the building that's between there, depending on which end zone you're looking at. So while we're stabilizing the embankment, we're taking the opportunity to relocate those portable bleachers to the other side and give an unobstructed view of the field. So improve things for the spectators there. While we're at it, we're also trying to create some additional parking out there in the vicinity of the field. The easterly side of the driveway, on the east side of the building. There's adequate width there to provide for parallel parking spaces, and I think we have 23 on the plan. So we're adding some 23 spaces there that don't exist currently. And on the south side of the stadium, that rectangle that's right next to the title block there on the plan, there's a paved parking lot there that's fenced in. Currently, the district has like maintenance vehicles and other things inside there. The proposal would be to remove the fencing, and there's adequate width there to create a parking lot for another 20 some odd vehicles. So at the end of the day, when this project's done, we'll be able to provide a neighborhood of 50 vehicles, additional 50 parking spaces for vehicles around the reservoir field. That's pretty much the overall description there. It's going down through your letter.
Well, if I could add, I think part of the issues that part of the concerns that we have, and you may be aware of this, 2 winters ago, there was a car that was on that road on the east side that went down the embankment. So part of this project would be to install a curb with properly spaced bollards to prevent any cars that are traveling in inclement weather on that road at night from going down into the pit. So in addition to the maintenance, we're adding that additional security for anyone that would be driving up that in that area. We do you see that there are some gates that are on there in severe inclement weather, potentially closing off those gates so no one drives up there as that water runs off the hillside. It tends to accumulate and then freezes, so it does create some slippery paths. And until it can get maintained, we want to make sure that the safety of anyone that's driving through there is considered. So we'll be adding a curb and again bollards there too. So along that path.
Yeah, thank you, Wayne, for that. And to add on to what Wayne just said, there's also a sidewalk that'll pick up from on the north end from the tennis court parking lot if anybody parked there for this event. And it'll be able to safely get them to the south end of the field where they can walk down the driveway down to the bottom of the hill, that's southwest corner, and then gain access to the spectator seating that we're providing on the east side.
So for student access to the tennis court storing today without having to walk up the roadway. Yeah. So
and that too. Then I guess to go further explain the plan, the existing handicap parking spaces are at the bottom of the hill at field level, right there. And we have a pervious paver path that'll take you to the east side of the field, stable walking surface for spectators. And then again, seating will be provided on that easterly side. And portals and bleachers, that's what we're looking at. So going down through the letter, Wayne, your comment 3, both parties should be in agreement with the proposed renovations and site improvements. Can we assume that would be that the city is good with what we're proposing here? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I think we're on the right track.
Yeah. Comments 4 and 5 talk about needing some kind of feedback from the zoning office about the use and about the slopes.
Yeah, I went through that already.
Yeah, so provide another plan. Is the zoning office going to provide us a document or something to put on the plan, or should?
Oh no, this is giving the zoning office the opportunity to object to what I stated.
Okay, so we could add a note to the plan.
Yeah,
so there's
no objection.
There's no objection.
She's here.
Not a problem. Not a problem. Down to comment 6B, you talk about one-way traffic circulation coming up along the east side of the field. I believe right now it is currently one-way. We're gonna add some additional signage on the south end, you know, and on the north end, do not enter signs and one-way signs, just to make sure that everybody knows what the traffic pattern is supposed to be there. Wayne, you indicate, Jerome, you indicated that in 6B about having a place to turn around should somebody come in Hampton Boulevard from the north and realize it's a one-way and have to turn back around. Is there adequate room to maneuver, turn a car around? We believe there is. Looking at the aerial photograph, don't know if you can
Provide a response, and if you need to provide a truck turn or template on the plan, then please do so.
for what kind of vehicle we're talking? Just a regular?
It's a regular vehicle.
Regular vehicle, that's fine. We can do that. Curb ramp, end of the sidewalk on the south end. I guess we could provide one if need be. Just note that at that end of the sidewalk, if we were to provide a ramp and somebody was up there in a wheelchair, once they get off that ramp, it's a very steep hill going down to the bottom of the down the field level. I don't think the school district wants to encourage or be responsible for something at that corner. I don't know. I mean, if that's what we need to provide, we'll provide one.
It's not an issue at the expense. We're concerned about the liability to give the perception that should somebody travel beyond there, there's an accessible route, and there isn't to get to the school. You've got a steep drive, and you certainly don't have the route down to the field that's by driving access.
I'm gonna defer that to Tim Crawl.
Yeah. We're not gonna die on this hill if we gotta put it in. Our concern was just simply one of liability.
Okay.
And we do have there are existing handicap parking spaces at field level up down at the bottom.
Yeah,
Go
if
ahead,
it's not an accessible route, if it's not needed to get from parking area to the facility, then you wouldn't need to provide a ramp if there is an alternate accessible route to get from the parking to the facility. I think that's what you were saying.
Yeah, there's field level accessible parking spaces right where they're being shown on the plan there, and there's an accessible path to the spectator seating area, so that there's that opportunity to access the field.
Okay, then I think you'd be fine.
Okay.
Are those parking spaces designated handicap?
Yes.
Yeah, I couldn't remember. It's been many years.
Yes,
since
sir.
My daughter's a senior now. Last time I was there, she was 4. So 4 or 5.
Well, if the signage or something is down, we'll verify that and replace it, but they are currently striped and clearly marked as accessible parking spaces.
Comments 6E and F. So as far as vehicular accessibility and turning movements and fire and rescue, nothing has changed out there with respect to the driveways and roads, other than we added the parallel spaces along the easterly side on the driveway.
We're just advising them that this plan that has been submitted, that they should. This is the opportunity that they can provide comments.
Okay. Talked about parking in 7. Good, we'll skip all the way over to 10. Jerome, forgive me, but the gentleman you asked me to speak to about stormwater, when we spoke last week.
Yeah.
What was his name again?
Michael Hartman.
Mike Hartman, thank you. Yeah, Michael and I had spoke about stormwater, and we're on the same page with what he needs, so we'll get something to supplement our stormwater narrative that we provided. Just wanted to note on 10G, as far as wanting conveyance calculations for the piping, which is along the easterly drive. Currently, there's I believe 7 storm inlets on the easterly side of that drive, and piping to connect them all. That's to control the runoff off the hillside. Currently, there is no curb on the westerly side of that drive, and now we're adding a curb. Most of that drive is super elevated towards the east, meaning that all the water would drain back across to the east, except for a little section, maybe about 100 feet, and where the road is kind of flat from the center to our proposed curb line, or it's slightly crowned in our direction. All we did was provide a couple inlets along the curb line, just so that water doesn't puddle along that curb. Because before, if it got to that side of the road, it could run down over the hill onto the field. So it was just little belt and suspenders there, so we didn't have any ponding there. And when I talked with Michael about calculations, I think we were in agreement that we wouldn't need anything additional there. We were providing just a minimum size pipe that's required by ordinance. It's not going to get a whole lot of flow at that location. I and J, retaining wall, Phil, you want to grab that?
Sure. If I could ask you to go back to the architectural drawings, we've got a cut through the hillside, and there were some concerns about hydraulic overloading, and I think that is addressed. If you could go ahead. That's yes, and back a sheet or two. That would be fine. Back one. If you just want to zoom in maybe a little bit on that upper section. Essentially what we're doing behind each of the retaining walls and is putting clean, free draining stone. And then in the area beneath the pavers, there are weeps, 3-inch weeps, 3 feet on center to allow any overcharge that could accumulate there to be relieved into the drainage course beneath the pavers. Whatever would not infiltrate, again, would then flow to the intermediate retaining wall. There are also weeps in that wall that would discharge into the drainable stone bed under the pavers. What isn't worked out, and we will clean up before the next submission, there is a collector pipe. We've since moved that down to the top of the footing at the third retaining wall on your left, and that will have a tied-in connection to the storm lateral that runs north to south along the entire east side of the field. So basically, there is virtually no chance for the buildup of excessive hydraulic pressure from water that could accumulate there. We did want to flatten the slope out, encourage the ability for infiltration, but recognize that in a heavy rain event that might not occur. And my guess is in a heavy rain event, there might be a trickle of water that reaches that bottom pipe, and we provided a way for that to be relieved. So we will have a little bit better defined drawings that we will submit with the updated plans. And Tim, if there are any questions that you would have on that, I can certainly follow up with you in advance of the next meeting. Anything that I can answer in regard to that?
No, I think you're on the right track though, what we were concerned.
And then as far as the calculations, I did reach out to our structural engineer that's designing the retaining wall system. I'm assuming building department may want that. Is that something really land development that you want to wrestle with, structural calculation and design, or let that stand for the building and codes department to look at if they need anything there?
I think what I would be looking for, yeah, I would be looking to see, is this going to be a pre-designed retaining wall, or is this going to be a modular or, mechanically stabilized component system?
It is right now intended to be a cast in place concrete system that is formed and poured in place with the structural reinforcing. So it will be monolithic retaining walls.
Right. You're showing a cantilevered wall, or at least the concept of a cantilevered wall. I think this is fine. I think this is fine to show for the purposes of the land development plan. It would be good to note that this is going to be a pre-designed cast in place wall rather than a proprietary modular type wall, which is often designed by the proprietary company that provides those modular walls. Just to show that this is how it's going in.
Yeah, well, if I have some design drawings to submit from the structural engineer that I might be able to include, I'll do that as well to make that a bit more clear. I assure you, it's not a segmental retaining wall. I don't think that's the appropriate application for this hillside stabilization, given the former issues.
And after building a couple of walls here recently, what will the face of those walls look like? How's it going to get finished? Just curious.
The exposed faces are proposed to be a rubbed concrete finish. They will be primed for an exterior application and painted. And then essentially that gives the school district a palette that if they want to put logos and graphics over top of that, they have the ability to do so, but we're not getting into public money
Right.
paying for that at this point in time.
Right, right. And nor is
The
I
back
don't,
sides of the wall,
yeah.
the back
I'm
sides of
just,
the wall will all have damp proofing, so.
I'd say that again, I'm sorry.
The back sides of the wall will all be damp proof to try to limit the migration of any moisture through the wall.
Okay, yes. Yeah, and I would recommend too, again, it's not required, but put a graffiti proof coating over top of the final emblems or paint that you put on there. Because the retaining walls are real good targets for graffiti.
Yeah, Tim, that would be part of our plan, just as we deal with that throughout the rest of our buildings.
Yep, I'm sure you do.
Okay, moving on quickly, ENS plan, we have submitted it to the County Conservation District. We will forward an approval letter when we get it. Question on number 12, the landscaping plan. We're not removing any trees and we weren't proposing anything out there. Is there something that the city would like to see and where?
This is up to the planning commission to determine if they want to see additional trees be included within the design.
Okay.
Yeah, remember that this was part of the 2004 redo of all the fields. So, you know, we've sort of looked over that and that boat has sailed in certain respects. Because those plans were for all the playing fields. Going all the way up, the girls softball field, all the way down to the tennis. So I would, my opinion would be, you know, that we've looked at it already.
So at that point, then nothing would be proposed with this project.
Yeah, unless we have some major concerns from other commissioners. But like I said, we didn't bring up anything back in 2004 about it.
I think it'd be good to note that the rest of the park has already received Arboretum status by the National Arboretum Association. So it's, there are significant different types of trees spread throughout the park area, and certainly provide you with the pamphlet that identifies that status. So
But if the planning commission felt that on their previous applications that this was already provided or considered, then we can eliminate it.
Yeah, like I said, unless somebody has the major, but I certainly don't, because like I said, we took a look at it.
Got it. Thank you. Any other planning commission members have anything on landscaping?
The Google Maps photo doesn't look particularly attractive, but I don't have any particular demands, I suppose. But a lot could be done to, I think, improve the overall appearance of the site, but you know. Especially in a forest. I guess.
Yeah, and since it does have Arboretum status, that if you could submit that to also the arborist, I think that would also be helpful.
Mr. Chairman,
Yeah, go ahead.
yeah, no, that all makes sense to me. I wasn't sure if this actually had gone through and how that was done with the, between the city and the school district and who applied and if a land development full plan was done in 2004. So that's good you confirmed that. And, the only thought I haven't been up there, this is practically my neighborhood, I haven't been up since that, cell phone tower was put up there. Unless there are any concerns about the landscaping, if that were not adequate. We used to approve those landscaping plans, and then we recommended a change in the ordinance that we would not have to, it would be done through zoning, so we didn't review that. And unless there's any thoughts about that.
You mean the landscaping around the tower?
Right, if that is unsightly or if it's adequate, I can see from afar how it blends in to the tree line to some degree. But I knew that's how it was intended, but I haven't seen like how it looks around the base, which I presume there's a fence or something there. I don't know if the district would like to make improvements or it's satisfied with that or how we would feel about that. I didn't see an image of that, though.
Yeah, Commissioner, I would say that's a city issue. The city was the one that installed the tower, not the district. So I don't think that's a concern of ours.
Yeah, no, just really, just really if you had a thought about it or a concern or a suggestion or anything, really, I agree. That's the city's, so I don't know if Public Works wants to weigh in on that or has looked, I didn't try to pull up an image of that.
Right. No, I'll piggyback on that. Well, yeah, I was going to ask the question there with that tower, and you mentioned earlier about runoff, and they did provide some stormwater management runoff features to curb that. Are you saying that the tower is part of that, or is there any interference, do you think, from the tower development that would impact the your lower development here?
Based on my experience with the district, I don't think that caused any additional runoff. I just think that when you look at the 2 100-year storms within the last 5 years, there's been a significant amount of water that runs off that hillside. And I think that tower is more on the flat part of where the softball field is. So I don't really think that would impact it. I think it's just the sheer slope of the easterly side of the hillside that's causing the runoff.
Right.
So, but it's a good question.
Well, that's a plague all through that side of Mount Penn, all up through there, Hampton Heights and everything. It's just all over. Hard to avoid that, but yeah, it looks like the plan that you've got here is going to be addressing that, which is good. And I guess again with Mr. Sanfici was mentioning about the landscaping. You don't see any issues with the tower and landscaping that's existing. Is that does that fit in with this development proposal?
It falls outside of our limit of disturbance and was not identified to be an impact in any way on the work that we proposed. It sits up and away from us. And if we had to include that, we are up at the upper end of an acre of disturbance, and I'd rather not to wander beyond that limit if we can avoid it.
Yeah, I hear you. Okay, very good. Thank you.
In all honesty, I think the landscaping requirements may be a little bit over excessive for this project.
Yeah.
Okay, great. Thank you. Lighting plan. So the proposed lighting that's being installed out there, it's a Musco brand light. They're LED lights. They're dark sky compliant. They have very sharp cutoffs. Lighting is going to be controlled to just on the field and the immediate surrounding area. You're not going to get any
any lead of any light beyond that. As far as the hours of operation, I don't think the school district will ever have a night game past 10 o'clock. And the lights will only be on to maybe half hour after a nighttime event would finish. There's no security lights, I don't believe, that are going to be on overnight, so it'll be dark out there. So I don't think there's a concern with the lighting there. With regard to refuse disposal, Wayne, you want to?
So there'd be no change in the operations the way it is now. I think that short of a soccer tournament, which might have 200 guests, they have trash receptacles that are spread throughout the campus, and we utilize gators to pick that trash up and dispose of it in dumpsters that are closer to the building. And we currently work with the city for the recycling program. So all of that should not change through these modifications. Again, we're not designing any changes to increase the attendance based off of we're utilizing the same number of portable bleachers that we have now. So there will be no increased capacity causing for an increase in waste. So I don't see a significant change there.
Okay, excuse me. Comments 15, 16, 17, they talk about water and sewer. We are not proposing any changes, modifications, additions to either water or sewer system. So I believe those, I don't believe that there's anything to do with those comments.
Yeah, this is Tim. Yeah, based on what I'm seeing here, I tend to agree with you on that. I like to have notes on the plan just to explain for folks in the future that what you said earlier about that this proposed development has no intention of increasing the population or the number of people using those facilities, particularly the sewer facilities. Therefore, there would not be any reason to believe that there would be an increase in the capacity of the sewer system. If you could just concisely note that on the plan, then we know that there would be no future sewer planning required for this development.
Understood. Thank you. We'll do that for sure. Berks County Planning Commission, I believe we made the submission to the city. City passed it on to the Planning Commission. I think their next meeting is.
They don't do this at a meeting.
Oh, they don't. Okay.
Yeah, but they haven't provided, I don't know if they sent you guys a review letter.
Not yet.
Okay, we haven't received it either.
Okay. I know that their next meeting was on the 13th of December. I don't know if we were to expect one by then or not.
Yeah, the staff planners do the review letters.
Gotcha. The only thing left are municipal and stormwater management agreements. Since the city and the district are joint owners in this, we'll certainly put together an improvements estimate for an escrow if one's needed. We just wanted to get your thoughts.
We've done it with other projects, both through the Reading School District as well as Reading Parking Authority, as well as
For Nature Place.
Stadium Commission for the First Energy
Yes.
State. So yeah,
Yes.
we've done them all.
I guess I was just questioning because there's already an existing agreement in place for the ownership and everything which outlines responsibilities. Want to make sure if that agreement would cover this, or we needed a separate one.
Michelle, do you want to look into that one maybe?
I'm here. So the issue is because I'd have to see the agreement in full.
Okay. We could
Yeah.
certainly
Information.
email you a copy of it.
Yes, that would be appreciated.
And just for the discussion purposes, Public Works would agree with what Jerome just said, because I think we did the same thing for the Nature Place, which is on city property, the stadium agreement, and the other ones that you mentioned there. So I think we'd have to keep that in the same way. We have similar lease agreements Again, I haven't read this agreement either in detail, but I would think it's probably similar.
Yeah,
We had two projects, we had two projects with the Reading Housing Authority as well.
Yeah.
and the stadium is the one that I'm thinking of because the city does own that property. So it is likely we will need the agreements. But I mean, the municipal and stormwater, but I will look at the agreements between the two parties to confirm that.
So as far as those agreements go, is there a standard form of agreement that we would just execute, or is something that has to be drawn up specific?
It's a standard agreement. There's a few blanks that had to be filled in, like the cost estimate, the BMPs on the stormwater agreement, the name of the plan, but they are standard agreements.
Okay.
And if you send me an email, I can send those over requesting them. I can send you the standard agreements. We just used them with the school district for the STEM project.
Right. I was going to say
Okay.
that. Be very similar.
I think that's it for me. Wayne, Phil?
All right, any comments or questions from the commissioners?
Mr. Chairman, this is Will.
Go ahead, Will.
Thank you. Like I always say with the last plan, I didn't actually see the plan. It wasn't in the review letter, but this is only about, traffic and parking and the like, but I mean, I'd like to see something, but I don't seem to have any major concerns really. This question is not for the applicant. It's more of a legal process question. The proposed changes for the traffic pattern and signage, must those be approved by city council?
Are you saying in general? Or are you in
Yes.
general or for this, the land development?
Well, in general, and then how would that apply to this land development, given that it's a joint tenancy?
Yeah, if you're talking
I
about
mean, maybe
signage,
there's something specific covered in the agreement, but generally speaking.
yeah, well, if it's in the right of way and it affects traffic control, and if it's a permanent change, then city council needs to approve that by an ordinance, and that would include things like no parking zones in the right of way.
Mhm.
But I think what we're seeing here is most, if not all, of these improvements are on property, on the lot, off and outside of the right of way. Therefore that would not require any council approval.
Okay, I thought maybe the change in, I guess I haven't seen what it is we're talking about, the change in the one-way traffic flow around the tennis court. I mean, if it doesn't require that, that's fine. I just
Right,
wanted to be
that's
sure.
interior. That would be considered private. But you bring up a good point, and I'm
I
glad to
see.
see that Mr. Freitas is on the line here too. And I think I heard Mr. Garris say earlier that our managing director has heard this presentation. And I was going to, while you brought it up, I was going to ask the question to the school district here. Have we heard anything from the administration, from the managing director's office? Any concerns or questions? Maybe from the mayor's office? I guess, are they aware that of this proposal, since it does involve city property?
No, Mr. Lynch and I had a meeting with Mr. Hine on a separate matter, and I did share with him the project, and that we were coming before you, and that we would be meeting with him to go over it in detail. And since we were close to the Thanksgiving holiday, we did not have a chance to review it in detail with him, but because we were addressing a separate matter. But he was willing to have that conversation and discussing it.
Okay, very good.
Something I just been curious about for since 2005, when this previous phase was, well, the first phase, I guess we could say, was completed. Before that, the runoff would flow into gutters. This is the generalization. Would flow into gutters and into the storm sewer system at the base of the slope towards Hampton Boulevard. And I sort of was wondering ever since, where does the water go? And it was mentioned. Of course, I read the review and listened to the presentation carefully. It sounds like some is going into storm sewers, but some is not. It's just, that's what the problem is about, that it's just flowing into places that we don't want it to be flowing into. And so I guess I'm just curious, like, where does the rest of it go? I mean, especially, for example, where the spring is. I think it just soak into the ground, and then when there's a storm, it overflows the road. Am I understanding correctly? I just never felt confident with what was done in the first phase, that it really controlled adequately the runoff. And it's true, what Tim Kroll said is true. It's a problem all over the slope of the Mount Penn, but it seems to be most acute there at Andrew Boulevard because it's the most exposed.
The issue isn't the existing stormwater system. The issue is the flow of water off the mountain and traveling down the eastern hillside that has compromised and caused the stone liner to slide, and then the mud gets into the field and compromises the synthetic turf. The existing stormwater piping at the perimeter of the field is collected, is piped out, and is connected to the city stormwater system down on Hampton Boulevard and or 13th Street. So that is all indicated on the plans. That is remaining intact. Essentially, the flow remains the same. We may infiltrate a little bit, and the calculation that Mike will be doing to satisfy those questions should address that overall there will be a net decrease in the impervious areas. So there is a potential for some infiltration there, but the existing stormwater system isn't an issue of not functioning correctly. It's just the steep slopes that were referenced previously that were the liner of the reservoir.
Right.
Obviously, it had no.
Right. No, I don't disagree with that. My concern was not that the storm sewer collection was inadequate, but that the water is not channeled to it in the first place. That's that's maybe what I was trying to get at. That's not your fault. I'm just wondering where does the water go? I mean, obviously, some of it goes into the embankment of the reservoir, but where does does water sheet flow across the road there? Doesn't that become a problem, especially in the wintertime, is what I'm thinking.
Well, I think as I mentioned earlier, there is a storm sewer system. I think there's 7 catch basins along the easterly side. That road is pretty much, for the most part, super elevated from west to east. So the road pitches back towards that storm sewer that's on the easterly side. And that's what collects the runoff that comes off the bottom of the hill.
And you find that that's adequate, other than, of course, the 100-year storm. It's generally adequate in your observation.
Yeah, I can't say that word, genuinely. Storm sewer is hardly ever designed to accommodate a 100-year storm event. It's
sure, of course.
Usually designed to accommodate a more frequent storm event, up to a 10 or 25-year storm. So yeah, when you get those really big 4, 5, 6 inch rainstorms or more, those are the ones that are gonna surcharge the storm sewer. But by and large, the normal storms, what we call a 2 or 5 or 10-year storms will be accommodated by that storm sewer concern.
Okay, because from my observation where the spring is, and it's probably beyond the scope of what you're looking at here, but I don't know if it's the source of some of the runoff or not. Where that spring is, it just seems to soak into the ground. That's what my concern is.
There's no evidence of that spring traveling down to the field.
Okay, I just wondered where I've always wondered, where does the water go?
I believe that spring goes into a catch basin along the road that's adjacent to the comfort station.
There's more than one spring up there. This one's not close to the comfort station. I may have to take a look, but I didn't see anything nearby it. The one I'm talking about, more to the north side. But that's all right. I just, as long as you're addressing the runoff that's affecting your plan, I just was curious if you knew where that flowed to. It just didn't always at all, and I wasn't the only one who wondered about it. I would advise please, during this plan to control the dirt on the streets, there was a complaint from a resident on Hampton Boulevard from the project at Knights and Windsor, so I can imagine this being a lot closer, it could potentially, be even more, of a problem. So, you know, follow the, sediment and erosion sediment plan, of course, and, as always is expected when if there's any construction, disturbance of earth and
yeah.
that.
Will, after that first occasion, we brought it to the attention of the Reading School District.
I know, and
they,
if you did a good, and you all did a good job addressing that, thank you.
They did, no, the Reading School District did a great job with making sure that the contractors
Yeah,
comply with.
no,
the
it was appreciated, and I did hear about it afterwards. So thank you.
Okay,
That's all I had.
very good. Okay, with that, do I hear a motion to table? Okay. Danny, second?
Sure.
Thank you, Peter. Question on the motion? We're table, so that's it. Okay, all those in favor of tabling, please say aye.
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 Opposed? Okay,
So,
very good.
so question then, as far as moving this plan forward, what are the next steps? There is a meeting on the 19th.
On the 19th, so the county, we couldn't take any action on it tonight because the county didn't issue a review letter.
You said. So.
So you can bring back a revised plan to address as many of these comments as possible, and the plan will most likely be approved with the remaining conditions.
Okay. So what would be the submission deadline before the night, assuming that the planning commission, county planning commission gets you a letter before the 19th, what would be our submission deadline to get back into?
And I'll be
December.
reaching out to the planning commission to make sure to get that.
Was it submitted at all?
Yeah.
Okay, December 5th.
December 5th?
Yes.
That's sometime next week. Tuesday, I think.
First Friday.
Yeah, Tuesday, okay. Well, we'll make sure we get something turned around quickly and just get back to it.
Yeah, we just need to receive the letter and then we can move that.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, it's in the Pennsylvania Municipalities Code that they have to comment first. So, so thank you. Since you're here, just a quick update on the STEM high school and if that is going well, or after your problems with having to do the remove the rock.
STEM high school project's going well. The first phase, even with the rock removal, came in under budget. It was overall less. And yes, after we cleared away the debris and the concrete and took care of the Act 1 issues, of course, we got down and found a lens of limestone that was awfully stubborn. And very appreciative to everybody from the city that helped us get approvals in a very timely fashion in order to complete blasting, the work in the community to do the survey and execute that work very well and of course safely. And we have foundations in the ground now. We did take a scheduled hit because of that rock, and so we're trying to arrest some of that delay, but it's gone very well. I thank Mr. Crawl for his help in helping us get the streetscape set up with our barriers and safeguard the site. And we have excellent contractors doing the building portion of the work. since I was with the planning commission, that the project was bid and came in under budget as well as far as the total construction cost. So we're off and running with a good group of contractors, the help of the city, the support of the school district, and just had groundbreaking this past week that I know many city representatives and others were in attendance for. So lots of excitement regarding the STEM high school. We appreciate all of your help and guidance.
Thank you very much. And I'm sure you'll turn this over quickly, and on the 19th, we'll see this again.
Okay, very good.
Thank you.
Well, have a nice evening.
Thank you.
Okay, now we move on to the Duca Properties preliminary final annexation plan development plan located at 1136 to 1148 Mall Street. And I'll turn it over to Jerome for the introduction.
Okay, this, our review was issued on November 25th, 2023, and I'll do a better job summarizing this one than no one has to read it. Back to us. The project involves 3 parcels of land with a cumulative area of 13,716 square feet, located at 1136, 1144, and 1148 Moss Street. These properties will be annexed together and then developed as a parking lot to facilitate an area of 39 parking spaces for the 55 residential units that are going to be proposed on 1125 Moss Street. So let's get this out in the air right now. The applicants, Duca Properties, did obtain approval via Appeal 2022, which was rendered on August 9, 2023 for the adaptive reuse of the existing building, 4-story building at 1125 Law Street. So what you see before you is basically half of the issue. This part of the project, since it's not contiguous with 1125, it's across the street. But as part of the zoning hearing board decision, they had required that this be brought in for a land development plan. So what you're seeing is what the applicant had proposed and has been approved by the zoning hearing board. We had, as you go through this letter, you'll sense that we're requiring that the land development plan for 1125 also be submitted, but not with this one, but they can concurrently coexist because they are dependent upon each other. This surface area parking is for the residential apartment units. The residential apartments need to park at this spot. So that gives you the background of the project. Moving down to comment 6, the existing 4-story building, as I mentioned, is currently in the process of being renovated. We just wanted to make sure that city officials were aware, both the building and trades department as well as the zoning office, that it was undergoing, and they are aware that these improvements are being done to secure the property. But once again, land development plans are going to be necessary for each project so that zoning permits can be issued for both uses. In terms of site accessibility for the site, clear site triangles are going to be required. And I brought this to the attention of the applicant that we are adopting new clear site triangle regulations that they may want to take a look at. But in either case, they may obstruct or take away parking spaces along Moss Street in order so that you can see in the direction that the traffic is being directed upon. And so therefore, like, again, spaces maybe have to be looped off.
I just want to interject. I'm sorry, my name is Christopher Posh. I'm one of co-developers. I know the Hawk Valley Associates had made a comment about Moss Street, but those are actually just those. It looks like on the plans that there's going to be cars coming in and out of on Moss Street, and that is not going to be the case. They'll all be entering and exiting on Mill Street, and they will be. That's just like so the cars over there can back into that, but it does look like they will be entering and exiting there, but that is not the case.
Okay,
So
that's
no parking is going to be, we didn't want to take away any parking on Moss Street. We wanted to maximize, because, just parking's an issue in the city. So we didn't want to take away anything that we didn't have to.
Yeah, this was something I had spoken with Brent during the initial zoning permit application. And made that recommendation, so they've been very receptive to comments from the zoning office.
Correct.
all right. I could see where you're going with it.
Yeah, so all entrance and exits are off of Mill Street, there's not gonna be any curb cuts along Moss.
So
Mill Street is a two-way street, just to get everybody on board with that.
Yeah, but if someone enters the facility, is there going to be ample room to turn around if the parking lot's full?
Correct, yes.
I mean, there is a little 5-foot or 10-foot butt out, but. Tim, do you have anything to say on that?
Yeah, that's what's normally done is you put that little swing area at the rear. You're talking about parked out where you see the one handicap parking space there on the east side? Is that what you're referring to? If it's fully parked out?
Put it this way, if either parking lot's full,
Yeah,
someone goes in,
right, either one, right.
is that gonna be acceptable for a turnaround?
Well, I mean, I didn't do the turning movements on it. I don't know that there's a standard, minimum standard, but it looks like they've made some provision. It appears as though, although I haven't studied it, that it's on the lot and it's not within the right of way. We don't want to encroach on the right of way of Moss Street. And I do appreciate that Moss Street is not losing any parking. I like that idea. So I can't fully answer your question because I don't see turning movements, but it looks like they've been at least an attempt to accommodate that full parking lot situation for backing out.
We can go back to Jim Dimmerling and ask him for that question, but that is a concern that we're gonna ask the applicant to address.
Noted.
We don't wanna basically see someone go in and then back all the way out.
Correct.
Back out the mill. Okay. So you know where we're at.
Yes.
Okay. He had mentioned that there's also an existing utility pole that may be a conflict that needs to be relocated.
That utility pole was on the Moss Street side, so not knowing that, thinking that cars were going to come in and out of there, that utility pole would not really be an issue then.
Okay. Yeah, that is the same utility pole. All right. All right, moving down into the curbs, sidewalks, and ramps. The existing curbs and sidewalks along Moss Street, Mill Street are in poor condition and more than likely are going to be replaced as part of this project.
Yes.
We would also suggested, I know it's been frowned upon in the past, about a crosswalk. We've been asked for in the Albright project. We had suggested that a crosswalk be provided mid block. But in this situation, the parking lot is going to be the primary area to facilitate parking to the residential apartment units across the street. So we like Public Works to consider that, and no, I don't think we have to have any answer for it tonight.
Yeah, I don't have an answer for tonight. Yeah, I don't like mid-block crosswalks. It would not be considered jaywalking as it would if this were downtown. This is not downtown. Other than that, I'd have to take a look at this and maybe consult with Jim Dimmerling also. I'm going to lean toward not including a crosswalk. I don't like the idea of mid-block crosswalks, although we know that people are going to be crossing the street, but they do that anyway when they're parked on the street.
All right. Moving forward, a landscaping plan would be required for this project, as well as a lighting plan. There is going to be no solid waste disposal on the site, but we just want the applicant to verify that for solid waste disposal and recycling. So if there's going to be no solid waste disposal or recycling on it, then just put a note on there that they're not to be provided. Once we have both plans, I think, in place, then I think it'd be a good idea for fire and rescue department to review the plan a little bit more comprehensively. We have we have reviewed the stormwater management plan and supplied the comments that are required for this site. And it looks like that these are just minor comments that will need to be addressed. I don't see anything of any significance, but they are required to demonstrate compliance.
And just
to
piggyback on that, Jerome, yeah, I did a little research before the meeting here, and I was able to look at a 2005 aerial from the city's aerial, and I noted that in the area where the parking lots are noted, it was all one big building. I don't know who owned the building, what the building was for, but it appeared to know the entire lot was impervious. It was a building.
Oh, okay.
And,
And the got burned down.
Correct. That was the sister building to that building that's there.
Yeah, and just to let you know, as far as the exemption for rate control, and I think that was mentioned in the letter, the way we interpret the exemption clause, and we're going to be revising that, it doesn't really address redevelopments like what we have here. It addresses new developments where you subdivide a site. It basically says if you have an existing house and you create a new lot next to it, you don't have to provide stormwater management for the old footprint of that existing house. Well, we don't have that here. It doesn't address redevelopment. So we say if you have an existing building and your new development, a parking lot in this case, is equal to or less than the footprint of the prior one, then you would have zero increase or zero net impervious area to meet the exemption clause. Now that just pertains to the exemption section of the stormwater management ordinance.
Yeah, that's 16B. That's 16B. Is that correct?
Well, I don't have it right here in front of me. It's that it's in the ordinance in the stormwater management ordinance that discusses exemptions for the rate control. So,
yeah, that's what I was pointing.
Yeah, that we take that to mean net new impervious area, which would apply here. And then as far as the volume controls, which was the other items you listed on the letter there for water quality and stream bank protection, et cetera. Yeah, those, we'd still want to look at those. And if we need to do a technical meeting with Mr. Posh or whoever is there, I'm open for a technical meeting so we don't have to dive into all the details for stormwater.
I agree. We can do that with Michael Hartman.
Yes.
Roger that. We'll pass that along to C2C Design is the firm handling that.
Yeah, Tim, this is Larry with C2C.
Hi, Larry.
Hi, Larry.
Hey, we did address we have a blurb in the stormwater management report for groundwater recharge, water quality, and stream bank, so they are in there.
Okay.
But we can certainly schedule a meeting to review that to see if those are acceptable.
Yeah, I was just going by what was in the review letter.
Yeah. So who would the meeting be with?
It would be with Michael Hartman and also Tim.
Yes.
Okay.
And it would have to be next week. Oh boy. Are we saying the 5th is the cutoff?
Yeah.
Let's see.
For this plan, though, we'll allow a few more extra days for it because it'll be just a re-review.
Yeah,
Any
yeah,
reason why?
because the rest of this week is not good for me.
Hmm.
Yeah, I could do Monday afternoon.
Okay.
Larry, in the interim, you could reach out to Michael and see if you can get on the same page with him on his comments and then convey them back to Tim.
Okay. And then while we're talking about, not to jump around, when would be the deadline for a resubmission?
For this project, well, first of all, are you gonna be submitting a land development plan for 1125?
No. My understanding is we would not.
Let's go for December 11th.
Okay. That's for the January 19 PC meeting.
Yes. This is much easier, December 19th. This is a much easier project.
Yeah.
Can you repeat the deadline?
December 11th. The only major items that are left are, did we get a review from the Berks County Planning Commission?
I did submit it. I'm not sure if the applicant received a copy of the letter. If not, we have not either. So this one, along with the other two from earlier this evening, I will be reaching out to BCPC to see if they have them ready or if they sent them and I just didn't get them.
We will require a municipal improvements agreement and a stormwater management maintenance agreement on this project. And that concludes the review.
Hey, did you have anything else to add, Tim?
Well, since we're not seeing 1125, then I guess sewer planning would not be consideration for what we're looking at on these plans. So other than that, I think that covered everything that was on my list.
Okay, any comments from the commissioners? Yeah.
Well, yes,
No, just
go ahead.
since since I see Brent is on the Zoom, do you have a timeline for when you'll be submitting for 1125?
I think that would be a question for Chris or the guys at C2C to answer that. I personally don't have a timeline on that.
Chris, you're muted.
That would be a Larry question.
You're up, Larry.
Pass the buck down, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I have to check with Chuck France in our office to see what his plans are for that.
I got Chuck on the line.
Okay, just because since there will be sewer planning that will need to be done and that usually takes quite a bit of time, the sooner the better. That way nothing kind of gets held up.
Yeah, we're starting. I do know that we're starting to get the sewer planning stuff moving.
Okay.
And we can talk about that at our meeting too.
Okay. Quick question back to Tim, and also Emily. Do we need an address for this property?
Good
They will need to
question.
choose, it is 3 parcels and the county does have 3 separate number addresses, so it'll be up to Public Works and the applicant to determine what the actual address for that parcel will be.
So I get, there's the 3 existing addresses are 1136, 1144, and 1148. So they'll be consolidated, so pick one.
Would it need a mailing address? If I mean, there's no building there. So I don't know, would it need an actual single address? For what purpose?
Yes. It'll be, so the way that our record keeping goes and, we have, like, in our edge drive, Tim, it's
Mhm.
just easier if there's an actual parcel address instead of us having to search for, like, the parcel ID number.
Right, because we got one lot, not two now, or three, I guess, right?
Yeah, yeah. So,
This is
so
a-
what we would end up doing is if they would choose one of the three existing addresses,
Yeah.
once everything is consolidated and said and done, we would just move the other two folders into that one address. That way, all of property history for everything is in one location.
Okay, and this is an annexation plan, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, then I agree, yes. So,
Also,
that, let-
there's a
and-
possibility that there would need to be an address for 911. Yeah.
Yeah.
well, for emergency, yes, I think Emily already said that, they already have this address at the county level. But I can see why zoning and planning need it at the city level. They need a single address, so that makes sense.
Yeah, we did that for the tax purposes, let alone the emergency.
Yeah, so we'll just, you have your pick of three addresses.
It will do 1144.
So it's good to be.
Larry, I'm going to ask you if you would email me, and I think you know Chris Lovell in our engineering office.
Yep.
Yeah, if you could email me and Chris with the request to change the address of these three lots that are being annexed to 1144 Moss Street. If you could do that, please, and then Chris will pick it up from there.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. So the plan would have to be tabled since we do not have a Berks County Planning Commission.
Are there any comments from the commissioners?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. First of all, I know, of course, this plan before us, which we're gonna have to table, of course. It's only for the annexation of the three parcels and the land development of the parking lot. But obviously, it's intended to serve the redevelopment of the former factory building. I really appreciate what the applicant is doing. I'll be interested to know more about that when we get to the redevelopment phase. This parcel has been one of the ones that I've raised repeatedly of concern, not this parcel, I should say, the factory building, because of its advanced state of dilapidation and the blight. Our commission is represented on the Blight and Property Review Committee. I've raised it there and in other fora. As you and I have raised a number of these properties, Mr. Chairman, because we have a history in the city of fires or these old factory buildings collapsing and the danger it poses. And of course, the history is this is adjacent to the great factory outlet building, this very parking lot. Just south of it is where that building had stood and did damage to the neighborhood. So I'm sure the neighbors appreciate it. So I'm really glad to see this coming forward. We've been seeing a lot of redevelopment of these kinds of buildings or tearing them down, and it's improving the safety. Just to weigh in briefly on the mid-block crosswalk, I believe we made that exception for the Albright project on, I guess that was it North 12th Street, because that was a low traffic area, and we approved some traffic modification to that area, I believe. So this would be very different with Moore Street being a higher traffic area and no proposed change. And I think what you said, Tim Crawl from Public Works, it's true. People are going to jaywalk whether we have one or not, I'm afraid. So I don't know if somebody could come up with a better idea. I definitely would like to hear it, but I'm not sure the crosswalk is optimal. I don't know what a city's do in situations like this. So we'll see if there's anything can be come up with between now and when this comes back before us. One little minor thing, and I know everything has to be just right on plans. What's identified as Mill Street, every traffic sign and city map that I've seen, is official city map, identifies it as North Mill Street. So somebody could look into that, please, and verify what is it under the city ordinance that established it. And that's all I have.
So Larry, would you add that question to your list for Chris Lovell? He'll answer it for you. He has the maps. Is it Mill Street or is it North Mill Street?
Thank you.
Okay, great. Hey, anything else on this plan? Hearing none, do I hear a motion to table?
Yes.
Okay. And Peter?
Second.
Okay. Oh, I'll take Nelson. Very good. Question on the motion? There is no question on the motion. All those in favor of tabling, please say aye.
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 Opposed? Very good. Well, we look forward to seeing you next month.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
Thank you.
In regards to the crosswalk, please don't make us build a bridge from the parking lot. To the we can't afford it.
A tunnel. We'll take a tunnel.
Yeah, I was
Tunnel. Yeah. Okay, on, let's see here. We are up to old business project updates, pending plans. Anything in that department? No. Let's see here, active plans requiring reaffirmation approval. I don't think we have anything.
There are none.
Yeah, great. And then, active plans requiring time extensions.
Not this month, but next month.
Next month. Okay, great. Okay, next up is the phase 2 zoning and saldo amendments.
Yes, they have been updated, and I apologize, Will, I did miss one of yours corrections. But
okay.
we still have a
You
lot
did
of time.
great with everything else. Thank you.
We still have time to make adjustments, modifications, revisions. What I'd like to do is forward these to the Berks County Planning Commission for their review in accordance with the Pennsylvania Municipalities Planning Code. They have 30 days to review it. Not sure if we're gonna get comments back for our December 19th meeting or not, probably not. But we'll see what happens. You may or may not know this, but the phase 1 amendments have not been approved by city council yet. These are the phase 2 amendments. So we're doing we were instructed to do, and so I would recommend that we go through the Berks County Planning Commission review, see what they have to say. These are more these are significant revisions to the zoning ordinance. So we may want to see what they have to say at this point, because it may require further revisions, especially with the off-street parking and loading. So these are the adaptive reuse, and then one set of zoning amendments for part 16 of the zoning ordinance, which is parking and loading, and then also a saldo amendment, which is also going to be required for parking and loading in order for us to consider reductions. So I think we need a motion.
All right, very good. Do I hear a motion to have Jerome submit these final drafts to the Berks County Planning Commission for review?
I could go along with that. I just had that one question to our planning consultant. I had submitted just, a bunch of minor edits, and I thought these were very thorough. Just that one question on the parking, should we include something there about, we thought about every kind of thing that's parked on the street except for, trash dumpsters, I think, because those are part, and I'm not sure if that's covered under another ordinance. Should we cross-reference it? If so, should we add something if it doesn't exist? Did you have any thought
Yeah,
about
that
that?
would
That's
not
something
be-
we could add later if we, I mean, we could, I don't have an objection to approving these and sending them along a while in the meantime.
That would not be part of this ordinance.
Okay. But I'll move that we, recommend these proposed amendments for adoption by city council.
Very good.
Are we
So we
doing
have,
one at a time, right?
Yeah, you can do it one at a time, or.
No, I think we can do, I think we can do all three at the same time.
Okay. Then I'll move all three to be recommended.
Very good. Very good. So I got the first, I got the second. Question on the motion? All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Opposed?
So as soon as we get those comments back, then we'll distribute them for everyone.
Yeah, and then we can review them at a workshop if need be. Okay. That'd be great. Okay. Announcements, reports, and other planning commission business. Is there a blighted properties report this month?
The meeting is Thursday.
Oh, meeting is Thursday. That's good to know. Good. Very good. Okay. Next up, we have the Planning Commission Annual Report for 2023.
We received correspondence from the city clerk indicating that they have 25 boards that they get annual reports from. We're obligated to issue an annual report each year in March, April, around that time frame. They're suggesting that we submit or go in front of the board or before the city council on March 2025. I think we just have to make city council aware that we're obligated to issue an annual report as per the MPC and see what directions we get back.
Well, I had mentioned that to the city clerk, and coordinating for the CHB. And, she said that that's fine, we just have to pick which day in April, either the first or the fourth Monday. So you have your pick of when you want to do your report.
Yeah, so I think we'll shoot for the fourth Monday in April.
The April 22nd.
And 2024 presentation.
Yeah, I think those dates with all of the other boards and commissions, was just to make sure that everyone went in front of city council at some point. But obviously, you know, CHB the past 2 years, I've done it every year, and they're fine with accommodating what we need.
Yeah. Okay. Yep, and
So we'll get the draft in by March and then we can review it and then adopt it until April 23rd. It's all right to do the presentation without it being adopted.
Yeah.
Just say we intend to
Yeah,
adopt
we
it tomorrow.
yeah. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, I think that will be fine. Unless you want to do it the first Monday in May.
You could also do that.
Let's do that.
Okay.
That way we got time. So it's 5/6.
Okay, great. Okay. And next up, we have the we have approval of the meeting minutes for forget which month, because I didn't get a chance to look at it.
Thank you.
I still haven't completed the ones I have to do yet, so that'll be for next month.
Yeah. Cause I think we did receive a set, right?
Takes a village.
Yeah. We won't worry about it this month. It's getting late. Okay, summary of the workshop meeting held last week. And we had a very good meeting with Helping Harvest. And I think it's going to be a spectacular project. So we gave a few recommendations, and they will be submitting a
Annexation land development plan for Goggle Works 2.
Yeah, I forget. Are they coming next month or in January?
I think they're coming this month.
Yeah, I think they're coming this month, because I think you gave them a deadline up to the 11th.
Yeah.
So we will see them on at the December meeting. Lee Olson is handling it, so of course he knows what we do. So,
Should be a perfect plan.
Okay, next planning commission meeting, it will be Tuesday, December 19th at 6 o'clock, like normal. And does anyone have anything else for the good of the order? Okay, with that, do I hear a motion to adjourn?
Yes.
Hey, Peter, second? Missed who that was. But Danny's here. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Okay, very good. Thank you, everyone.